Hello, America, Mexico, Puerto Rico, nations, territories. Fact treatment nature. In relationship to science is criminally re-engineered. Internation. The how to counter this is only capable of doing it. The only way to do it and not be it further and worse is by the system that is reality, always truth. Always truth. And noting exceptions nature. I have orange peel. So anyway, species value nature system. And President Trump. And politicians, each branch individually and together, as fact treatment nature victims, recorded, currently foreign influence treatments of barbarous medicine. I'm not a lawyer. Doesn't mean fake it. What's trained that not to think as youth, and then to rely on natures of other people's fact treatment nature. In other words, naive convictions. We have to conceive our nations lost in this trap together. One that's internation, just maintaining exactly what it's doing. Naive, like with DACA. I don't know if this is the one that was on the NASDAQ back in the day. It was like 1/16 a share. And then at 1/24 a share maybe. Went up to like $25 a share. So that's a lot of growth. And I'm not going to go into that still. I'm not a business guy. But I'm saying like this. It is tied to what nations agreed to be together. With Puerto Rico. All the nations juxtaposed here. Homeland, foreign and domestic. Originally and still. As one fake identity. But in relationship to the phenomena of trade center agreement, where the agencies are negotiating for areas of nations. But these are negotiations abridged to quality fact treatment to nature to what it really is. Because you can't even hide that and tell our American history, not by accident. Every modern nation's leader, even kings, even pharaohs, only let realized above states and areas inclusion with other tactically, criminally re-engineered fact treatment nature roles, justifications of it. And per that, everyone perpetually pseudo-sophistication with this right through it, everyone. Because it criminally re-engineered the sciences. Then it made everything inclusion with itself. It built a criminal insidiousness nature machine. Modern nations from 70 ancient times before then has the value of the criminally re-engineered republic for which we stand. Areas and states kept inclusion. An internation science value. A system that valued every part, every finite person of this body of value. As nature we are to itself, like an identity onto all parts of our body. We're like semi-natures to space is complete. Like a cell is a semi-nature to our complete body. At the same time, a cell is a semi-nature to itself, reliant upon the identity that is in diffusion through us. Forging the value of our temporary, lasting nature of positive, which is further positive or negative onto itself as progressive value. And as the value of being negative stays progressively negative. And as the value of being positive stays progressively positive. Because the semi-nature of more are being made of a complete nature of the identity of space is simultaneously forcing that differentiation and expansion and value expansion. Phenomenon of how we're closer to the in the entire body of space. We're closer to the inherent portion that is before temporary space nature, and it has an integrity that won't mix with temporary space nature, but through the identity that is bound to it, to its active value that is temporary space nature life, and to it progressively, which is already made from it, but there's the same nature in three positions, three states. One identity everywhere, before and beyond it, like our own. The value we're born a baby. Onto its body. This is a body of value discernment system. Discernment with the cells. Body of values, discernment, cell, nucleus, cell, body, cell wall, trinity, discernment. Body of value as nature. Value, nature, relationship to itself. Value / value, nature, nation, relationship to itself. Tell / Excalibur has been pulled from the rock of the alphabet. Energy extinguishes. Consciousness. Alpha long. Alpha's long. Inherent bodies. Energy rising. Except this Excalibur. There's like 6 names for Excalibur. In other words, Cipher's not just a story, but these stories come from decipher, because the sciences were not only criminally re-engineered, but this only realized sophistication didn't understand how they were criminally re-engineered or for what ends. Everyone was built to blame it on others, not understanding, and also needed to hide personal, misprision, and other life progressions, defending sensibilities of pseudo-positive as criminal and citizeness natures together. I'm not a lawyer. So in other words, with DACA, with the agreements with our campus is shared in every nation at once, while the progressions with the bombs are in the background. And that's the job too, where they share everything's a business. Because everyone's a victim predator to a role, to what can't think. You know, what can only stay measured going to be the cause of negative value nature progressions. Positive value nature progressions use overall up, distinctly discerning its relationship to overall down, and overall right to left and left to right, simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly. And that's a demonstration of radical correlation. This being obfuscated for what stayed entrenched here since before our founders' births. It is recorded that consciously people's understanding of our American history through its experts and through inter-sciences areas maintained, and to maintain branches, and all private, juxtaposed with overt and unrealized criminal insidiousness natures, and by one greater than that, before and as the value of all finite to all area, because we are value as fact, tribute nature, and it knew this in relationship to the database value. We are too, with fact, tribute, and time treatments. We fell into a trap that everyone reacted and maintained to this. Correlation natures, multi-front. Never spoke for areas, especially beginning right where George Washington left slavery. In the North, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, is where our history starts in physics, because the identity of space as truth, which is gaining, even though the past is gone, the truth of it is progressive value, because being positive that is also positive unto itself is progressive value. This is what science demonstrates. What causes evolution too, how to cause it. But it's through an ulterior value nature system. Only as this nature trying to seek this and be real about and keep it real, as they say, can we make the peace, not peace, just because there's 3 natures of peace. There's 3 natures of everything, because there's a value where temporary space nature is an active volume and a progressive volume connected to the inherent volume that won't mix. but through the identity that wraps them each. In other words, that's already made, so it's not going to keep mixing, but through that identity, that stays with it. So now, even though it's a semi-nature of that and that combined with that, and that it has the same nature together, that value progression has an inseparable relationship to that. What that won't be, what the inherent volume won't be, because it started it. And what the identity of space won't be together, even though we have choices. So especially, in other words, if we agree to be native nations together, even with better unity than we have, still pseudo-unity, they still going to cause negative value nature progressions. Lead to hadiths, you know what I mean? Still going to keep divided means where, wealth, even wealth, trapped the same. Look across the landscape of America. The same crazy laws with databases entrenched before our founders' births. Not just against Native Americans and colonists. They did that, so they made it so tiring to talk about that then, tactically, to keep it that way, consciously. Because it's a breaching method. Because if we understand this, we understand correlation. Then you could see and you could discern the lies of what was built as victim predators needing to lie to justify. There's no justification, in other words. So the presidents want people, someone in Haiti must have said, been so happy to have the president be able to admit that that's not, See, those people with those standards, everyone wants to play a game that is colonized. And they want to blame other and others. Because that's what this is. That's the devil. This with lost fronts on campus. Campus Marseilles is criminally re-engineered. We need the name return. We need the native. That's what natives say. Read their dreams. These are not our means. Because truth is a pure native sequence nature that brings evolution using the water, using what people pay to go see, but it's going away too. Why? Because we're on tactically ulterior from natural, specifically to be self-maintained, justified as fact treatment, and perpetually incapable to see with measuring that as pseudo-sophistication. Only realized, even reliant upon her areas, fact treatment natures, which is what the overt criminal enterprises are maintained to areas, intercampuses. Right with the media in the thing, because we have interagency, original and state, areas and states, victim predators. People I don't know. We'll go into that. The people, the investigators and their family members, if you ever see, everyone's a victim. But if you try to describe it as everyone a victim, people already take positions. They're in a whole different world. Not just because legalized, everyone's interbranch training to be fake and pretend that their morality. This is caused by their religions about criminal insidiousness nature is caused by the difference between there's a shared value of pseudo-ratiocination and ratiocination is the value of its progression as positive or negative. Further discernment. The shared value of the predicate and of predicate act. Predicate act is a high crime. A predicate is a always positive relationship to itself, simultaneously, inherently, actively, and progressively. As only the predicate we can see, discern. Wherever alpha value is, omega value is. Because the value is that's how the nature is a clear body of value that is shared by each identity of each cell. When their sequence nature is positive onto themselves. The cells of our body is also positive onto the other cells of our body. I'm not a doctor. Correlation, nature. See, we have Each age of fact-sheet nature is the victim of what criminally re-engineered ancient information science, knowing that it would maintain narrative natures, fact-sheet nature roles, perpetually blaming the real causes of negative value nature progressions in natures and acts on others, and exploiting that and being invested to it as nature's doing it, to perpetually play negative value nature progressions, natures and actual progressions facilitated to even deeper into needs to cover that up, so they can facilitate something like Trade Center. Proofs that these recorded predicate acts and their roles with things unrealized as predicate acts, because we have the agencies recorded witness fabrications, forging names. Each agencies with doctors recorded with crimes with child predators, switching names, interbranch with interbranch, even judges switching names. I don't know the extent they know stuff like this, because they have investigators there too. Online crimes, evidence sequence shifts, proven Ninth Circuit in the Trade Center attack, sequence shifting. My father had brought things, it had them time stamped in the Ninth Circuit. And then, and I'm not the guy who made fun of the car. That was someone else's son, who was a witness in the case. She won her own suit, and that was also tied to various natures of police associated with a restaurant that closed and places across the street from it in a CCSU. One of the CCSU connected campuses associated with on- and off-campus police, and with agencies and with their family members recorded and confessed through time, tied to child predators proven already, interbranch ties, and with a principal with a school arrested, but further recorded ones, interbranch tied, and further confessed, but it's tied to different kinds of police. And then they got the governor, I don't know, because the news too fake both sides of stories. And then they pretend emotions, that they pretend like if you mention it, in other words, that's reality. They had the governor is associated with the complaints from little kids, from mothers, and they pretend other, with mothers from other grades and stuff like that, when mothers and fathers using their kids with courts, with child predators through time, recorded, proven, and further recorded and confessed. See, but they're using the fake news to prevent people thinking, because there were rackets with the streets raised as to agencies with evidence crime roles, also tied in the area to the rest of the retired detectives, and people tied to the houses with child sex offenders further recorded and confessed. See, what brought up to me was untimely death confessions. One tied to the campus of Trinity College, also recorded and confessed either the principal or someone else, or multiple people else, with investigators who pretended I put it in a letter. This was also with other type things like that, name forging. Also, people associated with a Leahy family were associated with that, on and off campuses crimes, and with court police. And they have multiple recorded and confessed per their friends. I don't know them. They attach me to fake conversations. Witness fabrication roles with Trade Center. They also have recorded and confessed crime roles with MPs through time with crimes with children. And with recorded effective uses of KKK Confederate flag theme crimes with the black MPO Floyd, with an Eastern Narcotics State Narcotics Drug Task Force, prevented me from reporting tied child predator things, and used their uses of various police forms and their families through time with the area, with surveillance equipment, by using that, by having the people you directed to do those kind of things, make it look like they don't realize they're using them for evidence crime rules, and to hide what they used them for. In other words, they've been database illusion stacking, attaching people to fake conversations with the child predator people tied to and relatives tied to the houses in my area with this, tied to the Sandy Hook investigator, tied to people in my 4th, 5th, and 6th grade class, 3 people connected in the area. And then with other people that pretended I knew them in grammar school and stuff like that. And that was a live progression that went to how the colleges has people, like with criminal justice, like with Puerto Rican people, like Sammy Vega and stuff like that, associated with the Confederate flag themed people, and with the doctors, and with the drug cliques, with the courts, all one thing, all with evidence that all different natures of crime at once, and they're recorded using, pretending they don't realize separating issues to force multi-front stacked crimes and torture, stacking databases with evidence crimes, attaching innocent people when they come into court to fake conversations. They hurt them if they come in alone. They hurt them if they come in with other people. Play games to speak through people. Pretend people have body language they don't have. Pretend they don't understand because they didn't want to tell the truth about the confessions they made about all kinds of federal crimes with evidences, rules, forging names, switching names, police, hiding their rape threats online, and with investigators from the court, sequence shifting to hide that, making arrests of innocent people to hide that, hide worse because I don't even know what a Cohen said, but he made up a whole bunch of lies too. He wouldn't let me leave. I didn't even ask him to have a conversation. He offered all this information about a Professor Gilmore recorded and confessed by others involved with police in Weathersfield on Church Street, and with Heather Hansen also recorded and confessed involved with men and women with CCSU, with on and off campus roles with various natures of crimes with kids. And then that as their motivations for roles demonstrated, orchestrated to roles maintained as what is kept needing to hide itself and pretend morality at the same time as a breaching weapon. So like DACA, if that's connected to what was on the NASDAQ, I don't think, because DACA was also the name of a food service company with the campus, with the campuses back in the day. And in other words, they have criminal justice with these campuses shared, and that's juxtaposed with areas brackets, and by doing that, they're like their roles maintaining original overt criminal enterprises in all these nations, juxtaposed with agreements towards job sites and stuff like that, and retreats with trade center agreements with abridged criminally foreign influence education, stuff like that. Left. Marbury vs. Madison doesn't mean fake it. Not a lawyer, not a criminal, not a police form, but I could do better, obviously. That's why they have people talking about racism, because they want people to feel that that's what made that. They don't want people to understand that we have the same enemy. Our founders they don't want us to understand our founders' slavery. They didn't have freedom of speech. They didn't have freedom of religion, which is essential to freedom of speech with these rackets. Trick fact treatment natures, database illusion stacking natures. Then what happens when you come in after they've been doing that for time? That's torture. That's more than torture. This is worse. So so they have on-off campuses facilitated. They won't even let me get the name of because of the tactics they do with women recorded and confessed, coerced into evidence crime rules with judges and with on-off camp interbranch police, court police, others in collusion with themselves, interbranch of the same branches, police, like with the governor's police and stuff like that, is both kind of private police, all juxtaposed on off-campus relationships to what was connected through time with our networks, criminally foreign influence, where they have crime methods to get people to roles to extortion, mail fraud crimes, type online fake things so they can pretend they thought that was real, and as the predators, at the same time, in other words, lying about people's behavior. And then with rape threats online and with proven child sex predators with high positions in Wethersfield schools, but more recorded and confessed. Now there are if there are any politicians that hear me, they should be man up and speak like you know. First of all, we need federal stewardship of each branch of government in Wethersfield, especially tied to the prison cliques. Each year of my life, people tied to houses in my area tied to prison cliques. They're extorting me now because they have child predators I have to counter. Tied to the untimely deaths and the name forging with Hugh Ogden, with the untimely deaths on Trinity College, tied to the same people that used to live right next to me right here. And to their ties to Joshua Stryker, I never had a conversation with in my life, and with the dean switching names, Dean Alford is one of the names he used, and that's recorded various ways. And then mess with my computer, but that's because they did a lot of bad things with chemicals, guns, knives. These are the same police from my town, intercity and interbranch through time, with the same spots tied to confessions made to a body dumping spot tied to them in the Britain of a serial killer. Confessions tied to Billy Grasso and their roles with crimes with that body dumping spots with that. Investigators and police with the reports with that. And I just need someone, one news company to help. That's all I need. And they make you talk about personal things. That's torture too. Well, you know, I don't be talking about those things online. They start